Hey guys, it's me Sam, and today we are going to talk about my top 10 palettes of the year 2021. I'm really excited about this. I did throw in like a bonus one because I couldn't help myself, because I felt like I really needed to mention it. If you are new to my channel, my name is Sam. I am a makeup enthusiast. Makeup is my hobby. If you feel the same way, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can come back and see more content with me. And yeah, let's get started. We're gonna start at the back end, and then I will mention the honorable mention at the end. So the 10th place palette of the year is the Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey Artistry palette. I don't know why the name of the palette has to be so very long, but this is what she looks like. She is the holiday palette of this year, and I believe she retails for like 75 bucks. I did a video on most of these palettes, so I will be linking them in the eye, and if I have the time, I will link them as well in the description box. But this is what she looks like. And the reason why this one is in last place is because the color story is just not the most appealing as far as like comparing it to the other palettes that I have sitting here. I just felt like I wasn't that pulled into this one. It wasn't a palette that I had a hard time putting down. So I love the palette. I think the shadows are stunning in there, but I just like, especially this green one, like, come on. That is just like, the sparkly dimension on that is like out of this world. Beautiful. So yeah, I do think this palette is great, but I do feel like because of the color story, it just felt a little bit short compared to the other ones. But I do feel like this one was a big improvement compared to last year because we have some more mattes in here. There's a little bit more dimension from the light shades to the darker shades. Yeah, I was really happy with this palette. The next palette, I felt bad putting it in the spot, but none of these palettes are bad palettes. They're just in the spots they are more because of the color stories, because there's certain color stories that I just could not put down. So this one right here is the Kaleidos Club Nebula collab with Angelica Nevquist, and I love her, by the way. I did a video on this one as well. I think the colors are stunning, and the reason why I put this one in 9th place is just because I like shimmers to be really opaque, and a lot of the shimmers on here are more like topper shades, and I'm not against that. I really do like them. I just felt like the other ones had more of the shimmer shades that I like, and they didn't have as many toppers. So for that reason, that's why this is in this spot. I also do kind of like, I like the packaging and the aesthetic of it, but I hate the functionality of this palette, if I'm being quite honest. It's very bulky and it doesn't stay open, so when you're using the palette you have to like kind of hold it open. It's not like very convenient, so that's why it's in this spot. So the next one in 8th place is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I really love this palette. It's still very new to me, but the only reason why I'm putting it in this spot is because it is primarily cool tones, and I don't wear cool tones that often for me to say that this is going to be like my top favorite palette. I loved using this as soon as I got it. I had a hard time putting it down, but it's not my like absolute favorite color story, and so for that reason it's in this spot. But I do love this palette. It's beautiful. I love them all. They're all my babies. So if I didn't like it, I would be decluttering it for sure. I cannot wait to do that video. So the next one, this one has like a sister to it. So this one is the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette, and I know you're probably thinking because I said that I'm talking about the Opulence palette, but I'm not. So this is the Wilderness palette, and I have to say Beauty Bay has quickly become one of my favorite makeup brands, I feel like they absolutely kill it with their formula, and I love them. I love their metallics, their shimmers, and their mattes. They're intense and easy to blend out, and they show up on my skin, and they're yummy, and I absolutely love it. I like how there's a blue, a green, like a mustardy green, all, you know, murky color, and then they have the reds. I think this just gives us everything. But I do want to mention one that was really good that I couldn't put it in the top 10 because these beat it out, but I feel like it has a very similar vibe, and that is the Colourpop Lush palette. I'm gonna hold these side by side and kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. Do you see it? There's like the warm colors. Those blues are almost identical, and then they have the green shimmers and the golds. I do feel like they are very similar. So if you didn't get your hands on this or can't get your hand on the Wilderness one, maybe the Colourpop Lush one. This is a really good palette. I just didn't have room for it in the top 10. And I do feel like, honestly, they're very similar. So both of them I really thoroughly enjoyed. The next one is the Glam Light Dirty Martini palette. I love a green eyeshadow, and this gives me all the greens. It gives me this beautiful turquoise, this beautiful raisin color that I didn't realize that I love so much. And their formula is just out of this world beautiful. I feel like it is very similar to Beauty Bay's formula. That's not the first time I've said that, and it won't be the last. I do feel like they're very similar, but I do really love Glamlight. I love their packaging. I love the experience of buying from them, which is, you know, a big part of buying anything is the experience of it. This is a great palette. I did purchase the Chocolate Martini and the Margarita one. The Margarita one I honestly never used because the color scheme and the time of year that it was released, it just didn't fit into what I was wearing. And the chocolate one is very good, but I just feel like this one beat it out because I love the greens. The next palette kind of snuck up on me, not gonna lie, and this is number 5. So this one snuck up on me. It's the Uden's Eye Giant Wolves collab with Annette. Annette Makeup Corner, and this is what the color story looks like. Now I did do a video with this, and I want to say that these mattes, they just need you need to have a little finesse to work with them. They are very good, very pigmented, but you have to have a certain finesse to really blend them. So the first time I used it, I was like, wait a second, this is a little much. And I'm not gonna basically say that that's not true, because I do feel like they do need a little bit more work than, say, my Beauty Bay, but they are still very good. And what put this palette kind of ahead of the other ones are really these kind of special shades in here. This multi-chrome shade here is absolutely stunning, and this one right here, it goes blue to purple with a very like black base. These are like really special eyeshadows, and I just feel like the fact that they took the chance to create that really puts them ahead compared to some other brands that play it safe so much. So although the formula is slightly finicky for me, I do feel like this is a good palette, and it deserves the number 5 spot in my best of 2021. Okay, and 4th place is gonna surprise, is still a shock to me, is the Pat McGrath HUETOPIAN palette. This is what she looks like. I feel like the color story just makes her really, really special. I do feel like I have dupes for a lot of these special shades in my single eyeshadow collection, but I like that this is like a pre-made palette with that. You know what I mean? I like that you get the mattes. There's different tones in there. They take it light, they take it dark. They have the special shades in there. They have that peachy shade. I just think this palette is really beautiful. I love that it has a multi-chrome in there. These really textured baked shadows are like beautiful and unusual all at the same time, but they have some really good mattes in here, and that's really what won me over. The beautiful special shades are gorgeous, but like if you don't have a good matte to ground it together, I feel like, yeah, it's a dime a dozen. And that palette for me really made me fall in love with Pat McGrath. So I do feel like it deserves a spot in the top 5, and number 4 is a good place for it to land. So the next one, my third palette, is the Natasha De Nona CIRCO LOCO. I know a lot of people didn't love this palette. They felt intimidated by the color story, but I love this palette. Literally, I had such a hard time not using the palette when I got newer products that I was trying to play with. I fell in love. I love color, and I feel like this was a palette that Natasha De Nona made just for me. I know she didn't, but it felt that way. I can't say anymore. You know, she gave me everything I ever wanted right here in a colorful palette. Second place really shocked and surprised me because I didn't expect. This was a palette that I really wasn't even gonna buy, and finally I gave in, and then once I used it, it was like love at first sight. And that is the Melt Cosmetics Amor y Mariposa palette. This one feels like a storybook, a very sentimental like art piece. It's heavy, it has weight to it emotionally and physically. It's beautiful. It's literally a work of art. Look at the mirror on there. I mean, the shadows themselves with the imprints, and not only that, to top it off, they killed it with the formula and the color story. It is beautiful. You can create an everyday look in here of any tone, and you can also create beautiful, colorful, bright, vibrant looks. And the mattes in here will make you just fall in love. So I almost put this at the very top, but my heart knew that it kind of couldn't deny the fact that the number 1 really was the number 1. And we are going to talk about that right now, and that is the Natasha De Nona ZENDO palette. I don't know, Natasha De Nona this year gave me my colorful rainbow, but then it gave me a colorful neutral palette that I didn't know I wanted and that I couldn't put down. This palette gives me maturity. It gives me sophistication. It gives me color. It gives me everything. And this palette I used a lot for work every day, and it made me feel beautiful. And I think this was an ingenious color story for her to do, and she gave us lots of cream to powder to create dimension. She gave us everything. So I could not deny the fact that this was the number 1 palette for me for 2021. Now, I did mention that there was one palette that I wanted to give an honorary mention to. It's not a top 10, but it could have been. It's very close. It's probably, you know, I was shuffling things around, and this palette I felt like couldn't really take a spot in the top 10, even though it probably deserved it, just because the brand is kind of dead. So I was really sad that this came out this year and I was able to try it and fell in love with it, and it's no longer available. If you have this, use it. If you don't, check Macaria Poshmark. Maybe somebody's selling it. And maybe she will come back with her brand and give us the same palette or something else. But this is the KK Beauty Camo palette. And I feel like Charlotte Tilbury's new holiday palette was like half of it trying to be this palette. I feel like so many palettes this year were trying to give us green, and This one was done so beautifully. My lights are just a tad too bright. There we go. Look at these shadows. Look at these shadows. They're like really good quality. The mattes, I can't even tell you. This is the matte shade. That's supposed to be my skin tone. Most skin, you know, mattes that look like that for my skin tone don't even show up at all. And then look at that. That green yellow, like beautiful, beautiful shadow. Like I'm not a big fan of the Kardashians, but this palette is absolutely stunning. I didn't see the hype when she was doing all the bloom and the cherry and blah, 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 because it all looked like an Urban Decay palettes. But this one was truly unique, and I picked it up, and then I fell in love, and it was really sad that they're no longer in business. So if you can get your hands on this, that you should consider it. If you like a green eyeshadow, those are my top 10 palettes. I do want to mention, if you've made it this far in the video, that I am going to do my top 10 mini palettes this year, and you should stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and until next time, be sure to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.